Former President John Dramani Mahama, who was sworn in as president some hours after the death of President ATTA, has been sharing what he says is his first public reminiscence of his former boss. He talked about the moment he was informed of his death and how he missed the presidential seat shortly after he was sworn in as head of state.
On that dull and hazy, overcast day of 24th July 2012, death unexpectedly snatched him from us, leaving a shocked nation in sorrow, anguish, and in tears. And my following reminiscences are the first time I'm talking publicly of this sad event. That fateful day, I had been alerted that I would be asked to act because Prof was likely to travel to Nigeria. I was informed by his secretary, Sir James Beba-Mensah, that he had requested specifically that I stand in for him at the official launch of the Brand Ghana project, which was to take place at the International Conference Center. I attended that function with the Chief of Staff, Mr. John Martin Newman. Upon our return to the castle, which at that time was still then the seat of government, as I proceeded to my office, I asked Chief of Staff Martin Newman to inform Prof that I was going to cross over and see him to discuss a few important issues after meeting with a former president who was waiting in my office. Moments after our return, the Chief of Staff called me frantically and said that Prof had been rushed to the 37 military hospital in an emergency. I wrapped up my meeting with the former president and prepared my staff to rush to the hospital. It was then that Sir James Beba-Mensah entered my office and delivered the devastating news. Prof dead. How? How can Prof die? Were the questions I asked. The world came to a standstill. Nothing in my political life and experience had prepared me for a moment like this. The shelter of working under Prof had been a wonderful experience. His death left me in trepidation of stepping up to the plate, realizing the huge responsibility one was stepping into, and that the buck was going to stop with me and no one else. The swearing-in ceremony was a blur, and I struggled to complete my acceptance speech without breaking down in front of a sorrowful nation. When I left the podium, I missed my way back and went and sat back in my vice presidential seat until the uproar from the MPs reminded me that I had sworn the presidential oath and should move to the ceremonial presidential seat.
In other stories, former director of the Institute of Local Government Studies, Dr. Esther Ofe-Abwaje, wants government to engage the citizenry more on critical policies before implementation. She says John Evans Atta believed in consensus building.
The question I've been asking myself, as I observe with some dismay the differences that are coming up in education policy, the issues around taxation and other economic measures, that people or government is not talking to people enough. So the question I'm asking is it that our consultative processes, activities, ideas, and proposals, rather than eliciting our inputs, are designed to persuade us down a certain path? Are our listening governments listening proactively or reactively? Are carts being put ahead of horses? Is engagement an afterthought or a corrective action? What would Professor Mills have said? In this regard, Nana Chairman, development is about change management. Development is about change management. And change management is about communication. Without communication, you cannot manage change. You cannot share a vision. You cannot manage resistance to change. What would Professor Mills have said? Now more urgently than before, Nana Chair, we need to have consensus. We need to be more united as a nation on national concerns. But it would appear that there are more divisions and protests on major development proposals. It appears that there are widening distances between the people's representatives and the represented. Is the answer in wider consultation or consensus building? Because Professor Mills believed in that.